Okay, this story is kind of funny. Amazon facial recognition vision thinks that 28 congressmen look like known criminals at default settings, which the default setting is 80%. And Amazon and you know, and this is ACL used it, and it came out, and ACLU says Congress should step in, and Amazon says ACL didn't test it properly, which is probably true because Amazon says you need to set up for 95%. But still, all right, it recognized 28 congressmen as criminals. Okay, and we're not surprised that it's recognizing them as criminals. Well, maybe computers can do stuff pretty good. I don't know, but seriously, they set it for. I guess ACL set it for 80%, and Amazon recommends doing it 95%. But still, what if you 98% look like someone's wondering if you never committed a crime, right? You're gonna get arrested for that? This is ridiculous. But this shows that that this technology should be used to exonerate people, not convict them. It can help them try to find out who someone is, but you also is better used for finding out who someone is not. That's the whole thing. If you know what the problem is not, you're close to finding out what the problem is. If you know who didn't commit the crime, you're close to finding out who did commit the crime. It's that simple. So on this one, according to the article here, it says there's no word that false positives are currently an accepted part of facial recognition technology, and no one at the ACLU, which there's a surprise on this statement because the ACLU obviously would say, heck, I would say this. ACLU saying police would, including nobody, including ACLU saying police would arrest someone based on a false match alone. Oh, trust me, police have arrested people on fewer things. I mean, police have arrested people because they said, he would say something like, found that the guy got shot, says, well, I didn't like the guy, I don't even own a gun, but don't like the guy, I'm not, and a lot of people don't like him, I'm surprised the guy got shot, I don't even own a gun. Well, you said you didn't like him, you're under arrest. It's like, what part of the point? They missed the statement where you say you don't own a gun. And, it's like, yeah. Yeah, and even Amazon stated that they didn't even create that many false positives, even at 80% confidence ratio. So it sounds like the ACLU wasn't using the technology right. But the ACLU and ACLU is right on this one here, that they are concerned that that might bias police officer or government to search, question, or to draw a weapon when they shouldn't on someone who may have had nothing to do with it. And then they go, Amazon Tech seems to have overrepresented people of color. Well, we don't know what database they used. So to say it overrepresented people of color doesn't mean anything to me if I don't know what database they were using. What if they're using a database on a place that's that's 90% black? Well, from a city or from an area of a city that's 90% black, then you're going to get more. What if you're using a database where it's 75% black? If it's so that thing's kind of a non-issue to me because it goes by the data it's given, not by the data you want it to have. So I'm not really concerned unless you can show me that it has a tendency to do more false positives against people who are not white or who are black or who are Hispanic or who are Asian. If it's more likely to do a false positive for people who are of a certain race but not of another one, fine. Show me the data and I'll follow it. No, ACLU has a right to be concerned, but don't sit there until you see all the data. Because I don't know who programmed it, I don't know who designed it, I don't know how it was tested. And so I don't have enough information to say if the ACLU is right or wrong. Show me the data. But the ACLU is right that if this software is used wrong, the way they obviously did, because Amazon said, dude, you didn't do it right. If Amazon said they didn't do it right, then they probably didn't do it right. And the ACLU hasn't made a point. if someone gets a software and they don't use it correctly or set it up correctly or run the program the way it's supposed to be run, and they get a bunch of false positives, that's an issue. And I think the ACLU is good to point that up. It's like, hey, if we use it right, we get this, but if we screw it up and we do it this, we get this instead. And that's really important. So, ACLU has a very has a good concern. They should be concerned, and we should be concerned too, because if they're using this facial recognition software and they're not setting it up right and they're getting a lot of false positives, that's an issue, and it's going to cause a lot more problems than it should. So if they are setting it up right and they're getting a lot of false positives like that, then that's another concern that the software needs tweaking, and it's not as good as they thought it would be. And so it's like 6 of one thing, half a dozen of another. But it's something to be concerned about, and the ACLU does have a point here, and Amazon and ACLU both have a point. ACLU says the software needs to make sure we don't get as many false positives as we do, and Amazon says, well, you need to use the software correctly so you don't. So they're both right, and they're both absolutely right, but for different reasons. ACLU is right because they don't want the software to be used as end all to get people in jail who never did anything wrong. Amazon's right because they don't want people to misuse their product, not use it properly, not set it up properly, and then Amazon get in trouble for good software that's being used poorly and is putting innocent people in jail. So they're both right for different reasons, which end up being the right reason. So this is something we all should be at least taking a look at and concerned.